There was a saying that fake natties are the downfall of gym bros and celebrity training is the downfall of gym girls. And that's fact. Most of the time it's also combined. What is going on, guys? Norman Konstantin here, fitness expert and science nerd, and today we are going to take a look at Kim Kardashian's glute workout and see if it is really working or not. Let's begin. So we are starting with clamshells. You probably heard about the beef about the hip abduction machine and how it is not training the upper glutes, and later they found out that it is training the upper glutes, but it is still mainly a piriformis exercise, and that is exactly what she's pointing at her body. I wouldn't start with this particular exercise, not to mention the progressive overload potential is awkward, as in you can see squeezing a dumbbell in between your calves and hamstrings. Overall, it is not a great hypertrophy exercise. If you have a bench where you can keep your body relatively straight or with minimal bend, then you can use a cable and do an angled kickback and progress it really well till you can lift the whole stack, and that is going to grow your glutes like nothing before. Your upper glutes, yeah. Okay, that was quick. And we call it the lateral bended goblet squat. That's everything combined what I just saw. And I'm sad to say that, but this is a dog water exercise. It is not going to train the upper glutes well. It is not going to train the glute max well because it is a squat, but it's a goblet one. Maybe for super beginners who have never touched weight before, it is okay. Other than that, I just wouldn't do it. But you can so quickly outgrow the dumbbells, not to mention how much stronger your legs are compared to your arms when you are holding the dumbbell. You could do a regular squat, or if you want to destroy your glutes, then you could do pendulum squat or leg press to absolute failure for 1 to 3 sets, really focusing on progressive overload. And the growth what you are going to see on your glutes is going to be unbelievable compared to this exercise because it is going to do nothing at all. There was a saying that fake natties are the downfall of gym bros and celebrity training is the downfall of gym girls. And that's fact. Most of the time it's also combined. Anyway, let's go. Belt squats, finally a good choice where you can do what actually grows muscle. Progressive overload and pushing yourself to failure. The range of motion is questionable. I personally don't like this machine because it is pressing my hip, but a lot of girls I'm training, they love it. But the fact that this machine assists with your range of motion, but you don't have to go all the way down if you want to train your glutes, but you still have to go a bit lower than 90 degree or probably 120 degree, that's around parallel, or maybe a bit lower than parallel. ATG squats are more of an adductor squats because they have crazy leverage to move the weight from there, but the glutes, even though they get the stretch, they don't stay active. And if a muscle is not active, it is not going to get hypertrophy. So you should imagine it as in you are shifting hypertrophy. So if you go all the way down, you will get a low of adductor, and as you come up, they lose leverage, the glutes take over, they get a low of work, and they also get a low of hypertrophy, and as you come up, it's going to be some quads as well. So just going a tiny bit lower than that is going to be ideal. Alright, it seems we went a full cycle, and this is the beef I was talking about. Now, if I do some pro editing, you will see that the first exercise is exactly the same as this one. It is just done on a machine. So if you truly pushed hard on your first exercise, then you won't need this one. And I get the extra padding, because that's going to increase the range of motion, but instead of this, you could grab a bench and then do straight hip abduction, and progressively overload with the cable and push yourself to failure. And that is where the gains are. Just 1 to 2 sets in the 5 to 9 rep ranges, but really intense sets. And you will see a massive change. This machine is okay. It's not specific. It's not something I would do, especially since it's redundant, but it is okay. RDL is fantastic. The stance is questionable. If you do an RDL, you want to have a narrower stance, but it is really just picking on the smallest details. But I only do this so your glutes can grow. so I'm not going to stop now. Hip thrust, another amazing exercise. Now, I don't know what's going on there with the lockout, but that's the most important, or let's call it the most anabolic part of this exercise. Now wait, actually I do. Maybe because the feet are so far out that it's difficult to lock out. It's not impossible, but it is most certainly difficult. It is not a major issue, but ladies and gym bros who don't want to embarrass their families anymore, just get your feet and your knees stacked, and it's all solved, and you can go into a full lockout. And the full lockout is not 0 degree, or should we call it 90 degree, or parallel with the ground, but it's around 15 degree. So it's almost like you're hyperextending your hip. Improve the weight, it can easily go up into a 200 kilogram one, and your ass is going to be fire. Banded lateral walk, or lateral banded walk, again is the same as the first exercise and the hip abduction machine. The glutes do hip extension and hip abduction. You don't need to do 5 to 6 exercises within a single workout just to maximize your glute gains. For some reason, it is widespread that the more you do, the more you get. But in reality, the less you do with hardcore intensity, the more you get. And the more you do, in reality, it requires more half-assing, and that results in getting less. I will rate this as a 2.5 out of 10. Oh, actually no, let's be generous and round it up to 3. Because they had some good stuff in it, like RDL belt squats and hip thrust. But the programming is meh, and the order is also meh. So if anybody is watching it, and there are millions of people watching it and getting their ideas for working out from IG, then this is a prime example of how not to gain anything. Yeah, what you could do is a belt squat or pendulum squat for 2 sets in the 5 to 9 rep ranges, hip thrust 2 sets, 5 to 9 rep ranges, RDL for 1 set only, 5 to 9 rep ranges, and the cable hip abduction for 1 to 2 sets per leg in the 5 to 9 rep ranges. All of these sets taken to failure when you feel like you can't do anymore. Do this instead and focus on progressive overload and pushing your sets to failure, and I promise you, it will work. Talk to you in the next one.